Okay. All right, and everyone can see the stream, right? JJ, when ETH dump? Bro, why are you trying to wait for a dump? I mean, I don't even understand. Like, people wanting shorts, man. Oh my days. Like, literally in a bull market, people wanting to short. Trying to ETH short. Bro, why are you shorting? Crazy. ETH trying to break all-time high and we're trying to short. Risky, risky. I don't know, man. Shorting in a bull market, it's not my style. If the trend is up, the trend is up. That's my understanding of it. That is my understanding. All right. So I will get started then. So thanks guys for joining my stream on such a short notice. It's been a little bit hectic to get today, in multiple ways. Like, you know, I've been busy the whole day of work, but also shit was looking like pretty bad earlier. And then we just got that pump, um, which, you know, very welcomed. I mean, yesterday I was joking about how we normally get a Friday pump. We got a Friday dump, then a pump, so I suppose, win-win, right? Um, so yeah, let me jump to Bitcoin. I think Jerome Powell was talking today, and everyone's calling it, what's everyone calling it? Because apparently you're like a super noob if you don't know what it's called. This like whole I don't know what they call it. Like people are talking about it. I don't really know much about it. Um, I don't know why it's such a big thing. I mean, I know that obviously when Jerome Powell talks, there's always like a lot of volatility. Sometimes there's talks about rate cuts, and that obviously affects price when it comes to, even stock market. I don't know if it was today that he was talking about rate cuts and crypto. I haven't actually checked much about that, but what I've noticed is that um, news tends to just accelerate the direction of where the market is most probably going to go. Now, obviously, if it was bad news, then that would have delayed um, the upside momentum. We might have seen one more low. We might have gone a little bit lower. People would have felt a little bit bearish. But then I think, my personal opinion is I think we would have recovered, um, and the bull market wouldn't have been completely over, right? So an example is with Louis. This is what I was talking about um, on my channel. Um, if Sui broke below, like, say, 3.25, something like that, dollars, or 3.29, if it kind of broke below that invalidation point, and it sustained below that invalidation point, then there was a good chance it was going to head lower into the $3 region. But that doesn't mean that the bull market is over. It just means that we're going to get a slightly deeper correction with the target of still going to $5 plus. Do you see what I mean? So it's not like we're turning completely bearish and shit's going to hit the fan. It's more like news sometimes dictates, do we go, directly to the upside or directly to the downside in an impulsive move, or does that become like a diagonal where we get like a deeper correction and it's no longer an impulsive move up or down? Um, so that's the way I see it, right? Because I don't trade on news, I trade levels. I trade levels, I trade what I see. Yeah, sure, you can't ignore news, right? But I think news tends to cause a lot of noise a lot of the time. And it tends to cause a lot of distortions in price action. Um, so, you've got fib levels to watch. From my experience, everything runs on fib levels. Everything runs on fib levels. Um, and fib levels are literally one of the most important things to watch for. Traders use it like the Bible. It's literally like, the world could be burning, and you've got like fib levels that are just holding support or holding resistance or whatever the case may be, right? Um, so JJ's just said that talking about cutting rates possibly in September. So that's good, right? I think that's bullish news. That's bullish news for the whole market, stock market, etc. So yeah, I mean, I guess we got to see what happens in the next few months. So I mean, I personally am still bullish. I have no reason to be bearish at the moment. I've said this for months, and I'm gonna, I know I keep banging on about it, but I am gonna say it again. My top zone for Bitcoin, my topping zone, is gonna basically be between 100 and say $32,000 to $150,000. If we're super bullish, we might go above that, but maybe the 150K mark is where we might start to see a top for Bitcoin. Um, and I think Bitcoin is looking pretty good right now. It was looking a little bit shaky, when we started breaking that 112 support. But bulls turn up. They basically turned up the last minute. Um, and I basically see this correction as an A, B, C structure, where the C wave typically either is the same length as the A wave or slightly below the A wave. And we pretty much almost the same, maybe slightly below, but almost the same. So that's kind of how I'm seeing this at the moment. I'm seeing it as an ABC structure. If we go, for instance, on the 4-hour time frame, we can also see that we've got like a falling wedge. Okay. And to be honest, I'm seeing this as I'm seeing it as a three-wave move down. Obviously, if you micro count, you could possibly get a five-wave move, but I am seeing this as basically a three-wave move, or a WXY structure to the downside. So that does still obviously leave the door open for higher prices. It does mean that, we've got this really, really nice 4-hour candle that Bitcoin has given us here. This is a really, really nice 4-hour candle. What I would want to see for continued upside momentum is possibly a break above the 118 level and the 119,300, around about this level, right? So what I might expect to see Bitcoin do at this point is we might get like a small pullback and then possibly go higher into this zone here. There is one thing to obviously bear in mind. So, sorry, this is moved slightly. So this could obviously be an ABC structure to the downside on a higher level. So it could be something like that. That is also quite possible. It's not ruled out yet. The invalidation point for something like that would obviously, like the official invalidation would obviously be above this previous high. B waves can overshoot, but it starts to become more unlikely that this is a B wave to the upside, and more we're going to be heading towards the 130, 150K region once we push past this 121K level here. Okay, so if we see, for instance, like a pullback and then a push into this zone here, we have to see how price is going to react for Bitcoin here, because this could just be a B wave, then we get a C wave down, possibly into slightly deeper region, could possibly retest this zone here where we've got quite a bit of volume, quite a bit of price action is here. Obviously, you can see that we are trying to hold this 112,000 level. We dipped below it a couple of times. We dipped below it here. We dipped below it here today slightly. But we've had really nice reaction. Again though, if we have a look at this reaction at the moment on a smaller time frame, so yeah, I mean, we could just possibly see this as a wave one, wave two, and then I'd like to see us get a wave three, possibly into this zone here. And then the real test, as I said, is going to be obviously the 4-5 pattern. Because if we get a 5-wave move to the upside, then that will also be a good indication that we could wait for that pullback, and then you would go to here, and we would run this up all the way to 130 to 150k. Okay, so, but we need to obviously see the price action. There's not a lot of price action. Obviously, we've made some really good moves. We've made some really good moves in the past couple of hours. That's really, really important to see, and it's important to see that we've reacted in the region that I wanted to see a reaction. But yeah, we need to see if we can push past this region here, if we get a small pullback and a push to the upside. So things are looking good at the moment. But obviously, as I said, we just need to be a little bit wary if this is going to be an area where we get a B wave and then possibly a C wave down, or we hold a higher low and get continuation to the upside. We'll only really know that once we enter this region here. So once we obviously get, that 3-wave move to the upside, and we come into this kind of 118, 119 region up here, then we need to see if we hold a higher low and form another 5th wave to the upside. For now, it's looking good. We had this falling wedge and broke out of it quite violently, so that's really good. And it is good to see, but we need obviously a bit more price action, a bit more time, just give it a little bit more space. Moving on to Ethereum, I think Ethereum's been doing really, really well. So you can see that obviously it's retesting the previous high here. So that previous high was at $4,770, around about that. We've just retested it, literally $4,780. So we are literally retesting that. You can obviously see that we had this trend line that we can draw, that we broke out of. So again, this might be a matter of, do we get a small pullback and break? If we break, for me, there's nothing really stopping Ethereum from going to like $5,000 to $5,500, because yeah, I mean that's pretty much, if we look where all-time high is. All-time high is, what's that? Let's see. $4,868. So yeah, we would basically break all-time high. And we might on the weekend, or we might next week. We're gonna have to see what happens. I've got a target for Ethereum. Main initial target is around $6,000, possibly up to $7,000. If we're super bullish, we might get higher than that, but I think this is a pretty good zone. But yeah, next level really is going to be like $5,000, $5,500. I think here would be a really good zone for Ethereum to get to. We might only get to that $5,500 region, and then we might see like a pullback at this point, before we possibly get upside continuation. That will obviously then depend on, do we hold a higher low and continue, or do we obviously break and then we've basically entered a bear market. So there's a lot to watch. Ethereum is pushing boundaries right now, which is super, super good. Jumping onto USDT dominance. So this is kind of what I was hoping to see. I think I spoke to you guys about that last week or the week before, one or the other. So what I want to see is also kind of like an ABC structure from USDT dominance. Now, if we put a couple of fibs, let's just put some fibs on here. Yeah, you can see that obviously there was a reaction to the golden pocket region. If we follow this as an ABC structure to the downside. Next major regions, if obviously, we break that low and continue downwards, would mean that we would possibly want to test that 78.6 retracement level. Now, coincidentally, that 78.6 fib level is very important purely because it is also a major support level for USDT dominance. So you can see here, this is what I've been talking about for many months now. This 3.74% region, you can see we've touched it multiple times. It is acting as major support for USDT dominance. And there is obviously a chance that we retest it again, which will obviously be good for alts and good for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So whether we break down from that 3.74 region will be interesting to see, because we really want this to break. We want this line to break for us to start getting to a point where we could say maybe we're going to get a proper alt season. Because as I've said before, if we see this break, yeah, I think we're heading down to this region here, the 2.45% region. That might be basically our end of bull market here. And that could possibly be in the next couple of months. It could possibly be by the start of the year, maybe April, May. I know a lot of people, like 6, 7 months ago, were predicting that, May 2026 might be when the bull market reaches its peak before a massive sell-off. Possible, and it does coincide with obviously the region down here if we get it. So there's a lot to watch. I do think that, we've been on a run for quite some time. I think, obviously Bitcoin has had a really decent run up for also many months. I mean, you can see here, USDT dominance has kind of been in a downtrend, relatively strong downtrend. It has been obviously holding this support level here. And we got to see what happens, because as I said before, if we lose this level, I think we get an alt season. But you can see here we've got major levels of support on USDT dominance. So, here 2%, that's an area of interest. 2.5%. These are massive areas of interest. And that is if we lose this 3.74% region. If we do, I think there's nothing stopping us from going straight down here within a few months. I don't see anything stopping us, because there's not really any volume between that level. It's just pretty much straight down from there. Let's quickly jump to Bitcoin dominance. So, I've talked about this as well on the weekly. I think Bitcoin dominance is looking really good for alts. I've said this before. We kind of had a breakdown from this weekly trend line that we've been watching, and this is very good for alts, right? So we've had that break. Now, obviously, if we zoom in a little bit, maybe go on like the daily, we can see that. Sorry, let me just switch to cross. We can see that, yeah, this is pretty much what we are looking for. If we take a fib from here to here and pull that up a bit, yeah, so I think also target for this is, again, if we see this as an ABC structure and we get more of a push from alts, we could be targeting that 100% fib level, which is at 57.1%, and that is taking you to, yeah, you can see here we've got a previous swing low. So there is some confluence around here. You can see obviously we had struggled previously to get above this line, push past it, retest. So this is also this is also a level of interest here. So there is a good chance that Bitcoin dominance can continue downwards and we can reach this 100% fib level. That again would be really good for alts to have an additional run. I do see this as possibly bearish now, Bitcoin dominance. So, we might see a run on alts, and then we might see Bitcoin possibly going to its all-time high, and Bitcoin dominance is here, and we're retesting this weekly trend line that we're broken down from. Bitcoin, all-time highs, 150K, whatever, and we're up here, and then that's it, boom, like proper bull run for the alts. So entirely possible, right? Entirely possible. We have broken that weekly trend line, and I find that very, very significant. I find that very important. I find it important that, Bitcoin dominance had reached these levels here on the 9th of May and the 23rd of June. And, I think if I remember correctly, we were not even if we were all-time highs or Bitcoin where Bitcoin is now, for instance, is not far off from its all-time high. But you can see how much Bitcoin dominance has dropped, yet Bitcoin is still very close to its all-time high. That's why I'm thinking that we might get a push up back to this trend line as a retest and a possible rejection, and that will then be alt season. Again, this is all just predictions. This is all based on probability and fib levels and statistics and stuff like that. So, I'm not 100% saying this is going to happen. Remember that. But I am just telling you what I see. Fib levels to watch. You can see how fibs line up very nicely with previous swing lows, areas of support and resistance. And it is something to definitely watch out for. Now, now I can start talking about Sui, which it's been a fun ride, right? I mean, it's been a real fun ride so far. Um, I'm really pleased that we held this. Should I have maybe had a slightly lower entry? Maybe I the only thing I regret about this trade is not having a second DCA, which is what I was going to do. So I was going to have a DCA at around 3.36, $3.35. Would have been really nice to DCA in there. I wanted to DCA in there, but my rule is if I haven't called it, I'm not going to do it. I want everyone to have exactly the same trade as me. So if I messed up on proportions and stuff like that, then I will take that hit myself. Um, but if we look at this, so I'm just going to take the um, previous high. I'm not going to take it on a high time frame, but I will show you this. I will show you this in a second. So typical target, again, as I've said before, for an ABC structure, 100% fib level. 100% fib level was at 3.36. This fib here is also on a larger time frame that I've taken. You've got the 786 last resort region here. That's why I was saying that you've got literally invalidation points here. Like your invalidation is literally like 3.29, 3.25. This is your invalidation point right here. If we did not see a reaction like we did at this point, and this is where I was slightly worried, if we started to see this, and then just, consolidating below here, then, as I said, there was a good chance that we would visit this 100% fib extension on the much larger time frame. Again, we still need to obviously see how this goes. It's promising purely because we've broken above those previous swing highs here at around 3.67, so it's promising. I'd love to get a 4-hour candle close above these levels. And then, I think we're going higher personally. I was previously trying to track a triangle structure, but I don't think that's the case anymore. I think what we have is more of a running flat structure, and we might then start to push up. So need a bit more price action, but it looks promising. We've broken above this previous high. We've broken above these two previous highs at the moment. 4-hour close above them would be absolutely fantastic. We're literally at $3.7 at the moment. So Sui is looking awesome. And you can see how much the recovery was. Like, that was a crazy move. It was a crazy move, literally from here it was, I don't know, it was like 15% or 12%, something like that. It was something crazy, right? But that's what I'm saying, fibs are so important, and that's why I was saying that maybe I kicked myself a little bit and should have maybe had an entry at the very least at like $3.36. This higher time frame 786 would have been cutting it quite tight. That was at 3.2934, and we got down to 3.3047. So we would have got front run if we went with this fib level. But you know, nothing wrong with that. But again, as I said, like maybe I should have had a DCA at the 100% fib level. I might try to make my trades a little bit more like I do this sometimes. Sometimes I have two DCAs and an entry. Sometimes I have one DCA and an entry. I probably prefer to have two DCAs and an entry, so I'll probably make sure that I do that more often. And I do like to have a DCA near to stop loss. You know, it just means that you can get a pretty good entry and not possibly lose too much. Because, you know, you don't wanna like, for instance, you don't want to enter here, have a DCA here, and your stop loss is like down here somewhere. Because, I mean, look at that, that's like a massive drop, right? What you want to have is you want to have maybe, you know, you enter here, here, one more DCA, stop loss. And I typically, as I've told you guys, I typically have a soft stop loss, not a hard stop loss, because of the wicks. So can you imagine if we literally had a stop loss, for instance, below this previous low here, and it was a hard stop loss, we would have got wicked out, and then bye bye, see you later, profit. And that would have sucked. And, you know, that's happened to me in the past so many times when I was like an amateur trader. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with people having that technique. You know, a lot of scalpers may have that technique where, you know, you've got a hard stop loss and a hard take profit and you want to watch it all the way. It's totally fine. It just makes it a little bit more difficult in terms of like timing the bottom, timing the top. You know, your win rate is lower, your RR is better. I like to have kind of like a balance between both. I like to have a good win rate and a half decent, you know, RR. Like you might not get as much RR as someone who is taking like 20 trades a day, and you know you have a hard stop loss, hard TP. I just don't have time to do 20 trades a day, to be honest. So, you know, for the people like us who do swing trades, you know, I personally find it better. You know, I work like 9 to 5, 5 days a week, so I can't be watching it all the time. So that's why I prefer this technique. And I think a lot of people who might be in a similar situation who can't literally be watching a chart all the time. I know Sharky probably loves watching the chart all the time and maybe has a bit more time, a bit more time than I do. You know, it's great to like enter multiple trades, but for me, yeah, I used to do that and started losing a lot of money because I just didn't have the time to watch them. So this is why I do what I do. See, Sui's pushing. I love Sui. You know what? I absolutely love Sui, and I know I'm going to talk about it. I haven't talked about Fetch AI yet. Let me just take a sip of water for a second. Mm. I mean, look at that. I mean, look at Link. Oh my God. I mean, we got in on spot down here. You see this orange line? That's us at spot. And I know we took a leverage trade around here, 16.2, I think it was. Took some profit at $20. We had a really nice trade there. I think it was here actually, sorry. Yeah, this is where we took the trade. I probably should have just let the damn thing run, to be honest, on leverage, but for the people in sport, yay, because, you know, I mean, basically up like 2.5x right now. It's crazy. Look at that, 150%. 150% on spot in like 2 months. That's mad. Literally mad. Put £1,000, you got like 2.5 grand. It's like win-win, right? Now, the only thing that I would say with Link at the moment is that we are at a very, very important point. Because Ethereum's obviously quite close to all-time highs, pretty much is at almost all-time highs. Link on the weekly, you can see we are literally we're literally approaching like major weekly resistance. Um, and that's what I'm saying. We need to possibly be a little bit careful, just a little bit careful, because as much as I would love to see Link just like push past up here, maybe a small little retest and go, and we're at $50 by like the start of the year. I don't think the weekly trend line is going to be super, super easy to break. It might be, we might get lucky. Um, but I've obviously told people to take profit on this spot down here when we were at $25, $26. Next major targets for me will trim a little bit at 30, but then after that, $50. I'm waiting on 50 and I'm waiting on like 80, 80, $85 region for Link. And I think we might get that. I don't think we're going to go up in a straight line. We could come back down. And we could get that. And maybe that'll be our bull run target. $85. And that's it. So, I mean, Link has been super, super strong. I think it's an amazing coin. I think they've got amazing fundamentals. MasterCard are like adopting them. They've had like massive things going on, right? So I don't think they're going anywhere, to be honest. Fetch AI, slowly getting its ass moving. Such a slow coin sometimes. But you know what? It gives you good profits when it starts to move and you catch it from a right spot. I mean, look at that. Look at that. I mean, our DCA was um well, I said it was 64 0.645. I think it got to like 0.648. I was a bit worried we wouldn't hit that. We did. We got to 0.638. That was, again, if you have a look, literally touched the 786 fib. It needed to react at that point. I see this as a 1, 2, 3, where that third wave reaches this zone here. That's why I was targeting around 85 cents to 90 cents as the third wave. I do see that as a possibility if we can continue to break past these highs here at 73 cents and more importantly the 75-cent region. I think we need to break past these levels to really indicate that. Now again, we've broken out of this trend line that I've drawn. Might get a possible retest. I don't really want to see a deep retest, but we might get a retest and then hopefully we can start breaking past these previous swing highs and possibly get up to this region here before continuing onwards. But yeah, I would like to see the third wave get to at least 85 to 90 cents. 90 cents would be really where I'd want it to get to. The reason I see this as like relatively good probability-wise upside continuation is because we had this 5-wave move. Very clear 5-wave move, which we've not really been having for quite some time. With a 5-wave move, we got a 3-wave pullback. And that is why I expect us to have this continuation to the upside. So yeah, trimmed a bit. That's fine. People obviously getting worried and stressing, but I do think we see a rally relatively soon. Again, we have to stay cautious because of Bitcoin, and we have to see how that goes, but we can always be optimistic. I'm going to go through a couple more that I normally talk about. So H-bar. H-bar has been a little bit slow. I ain't gonna lie, it's been a little bit slow. Obviously, invalidation point for H-bar for me. I had this trade that I was gonna do, but I didn't do. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not looking to trade H-bar yet, because I still feel like we're kind of in this range. It's not really broken anything substantial, substantial in my opinion. What I would really love to see is I would love to see it break above this 28-cent level, because this 28-cent level has been resistance for quite some time. We've really struggled to get above it. And I think if we do break above this trend line, we get a retest, but then I would really like us to break out. And if we get a retest of that 28 cent level, then that is where I might potentially take a long. You could argue maybe it's late doing at that point, but I like to go based on confirmation a lot of the time. Um, and also I don't care because I mean, look, if we break above 28 cents and get like a retest, my target for HBAR is like 60 cents. So I mean, that's kind of like a 2x from where we would be breaking out from anyway. So I don't care about being late if my target is obviously that high. Um, but yeah, this kind of changes slightly in terms of like the plan. I'll kind of reassess this as a trade relatively soon when I start to see a bit more confidence. Because this can fail. This can fail. We've not broken above. Um, if I zoom in a little bit, we've not broken above those swing highs yet, like this one here at 27 cents, this one here about 30 cents. This was just a wick. And that's what I'm talking about. Like I kind of like to see some candle closures above, maybe retest, and then on the retest we can take that trade, but we've just not seen that yet. And one more that I'm going to go through is Doge. So yeah, I mean, this would have been a really nice trade. I had a trade set up. I didn't take it because, I'm a pleb. But I had a trade set up, and you can kind of see this is a very, very obvious three-wave move down. And typically with an ABC structure, your A wave is going to be a very similar length to your C wave. So if we take that A wave, you can see very, very similar to the length of your C wave. So this low on the 2nd of August is very important. It's very important. I think if we break below that, we go much lower for Doge. What I do see with Doge, and might be too late, unfortunately, because I didn't take the trade set up, but it's not the end of the world. We've got other coins, don't worry about that. But I do see Doge at least getting to 30 cents. You can see here that this was acting as support, broke through, near retest, range, deviation, range, deviation, range, might get to the top of range. So next destination for Doge, I would say, is 30 cents. This was my buy zone back here that I faded for some reason. Don't ask me why. But yeah, this is looking relatively good for Doge. I don't personally like the massively overlapping price action. I have to admit, I don't really like it that much. But if we're gonna really set like a target for Doge on where it could go, yeah, I mean, when we take the fib from here, we can see that 100% fib is kind of the next area. It reached that already. We had a pullback, and then yeah, I mean, next region is really going to be possibly getting above that resistance there at 30 cents, where we might want to get to 32, 33 cents, and then see where we go from there. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone wants to obviously have any coins for me to have a look at. I'm obviously happy to look at any coins that you guys have been eyeing up and you want a little bit of TA on. I particularly like shit coins though, I ain't gonna lie. I don't like fart coin and bumhole and whatever the fuck else that people talk about. It's not really my style. Sorry. I like to look at proper coins if that's alright. Legit. Guessing I miss Sui, joined late. Yeah, bro, I mean, I was just banging on about how nice it was and how I should have had an additional DCA, and I was planning to have an additional DCA, but I just didn't do it. I just didn't put it there. I normally have like 2 DCAs, and this time I think I only had one. And I was just basically mentioning that I was gonna have a DCA at 3.36, and I was gonna put that for myself, but I didn't because when I do something, I want other people to do it, but we obviously had already positioned, um, you know, the percentage allocated for that trade. Um, and unless you're like super, super confident or like 100% sure of something, I tend to not like to mess about with changing position sizing of trades. Um, and no one is 100% certain about stuff. So yeah, I mean, we can see those series like really, really pushing right now, which is awesome. It's awesome to see. Um, so so yeah. Um, no, legit. I think if you got a lower entry than me, then great. You know, I'm always happy if people just like see my trade and think, yeah, I'm gonna enter a little bit lower, and you catch it, great. Um, Absolutely nothing against that. If people got better entries than me, then win-win, right? So, um, yeah. What else? I don't think there's really much more to say. As usual, I don't trade on the weekend. We've obviously got open trades that are currently run, so we just let them run, right? I don't actually think that there is a trade to take right now. If you're not in a trade, I wouldn't jump in a trade because we had the entry down here. For instance, for Sui, um, we had the entries for H bar if you really wanted to take that. Although to be honest, I don't particularly like how H bar's looking. Um, Link, for instance, I mean, Link's just kind of gone right now, and also it's approaching weekly resistance. So I personally wouldn't enter a new trade in Link right now. Um, and I think Fetch AI has also moved considerably as well. We took a DCA um, around here, and our average was literally here, and we've kind of pushed quite a lot higher. So remember, obviously opening trades here, your reward to risk ratio obviously, changes significantly, right? Because technically invalidation point now is basically below that low that we've formed, that intraday low, at around 0.638 cents. And if you were to, you know, market enter now, invalidation is all the way down here. So not a really good place to take a trade. So I'm not going to take new trades. We're in Sui, we're in Fetch AI, we've got Link Spot. We're just chilling. We will chill for the weekend. Hopefully no one's stressing because like I know a lot of people were stressing and being like, oh my God, like Sui is like going to shit. Yeah, I mean it looked like a bear trap. I'll be honest, it looked like a bear trap. Um, but we'll just hold out and yeah, see how we go. So, as usual, if you guys have any questions, ping me in the chat. Um, I don't mind if you guys like DM me as well. If you want to like send me some charts that you've done analysis on and you want me to have a look and tell you if it looks good or if there's anything to improve on. And you don't feel confident enough to share that in main chat. Um, just do that. I'm always happy to answer questions when I can. I'll upload the stream later. I'm like super bad at remembering uploading streams, so um, I will I will make sure I do that. Someone just said that ETH is like almost at all-time high. Boom, look at that. Not even getting a pullback yet. That's all right. That's fine by me. That's totally fine by me. This was my region where I thought ETH would get to as an all-time high. So yeah, push it, push it, push it to 5,000, push it to 5,500. I'm quite happy. Um, that's good for alts and that's good for the whole market. So yeah, brilliant. Also, I hope everyone was seeing the stream, because when I look at the thumbnail when I switched to the stream, um, it wasn't showing it for me, but I'm hoping that everyone was seeing it. So I think people would start screaming at me if they didn't. Um, Sharky, thinking about shorting, to be honest, bro, you're on your own with this one. You're on your own, okay? You're gonna go short. You're on your own. I have no advice for you if you're gonna short. All right? Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. You guys who short, good luck. Okay? totally good luck. I mean, I know there's going to be a lot of people trying to short all-time high. Um, Build up of orders trying to short all-time high, more liquidity. People are going to want to take that shit. So yeah, I'm not touching that. Um, I'm chill. You guys do what you want. Whatever you guys do, remember risk management, right? Don't go and like full port short and then just get completely wiped out and liquidated, all right? That's not what we want to do here, okay? Um, just be careful. Please be careful. Don't risk more than 5% um, on your port. I've seen a lot of you like 50% or something crazy like that. Please, risk management. You will get liquidated. You will destroy most of your account. Um, just don't do that, okay? Let's be sensible. So that's the most important part of trading, by the way. Forget fibs, forget support resistance, forget whatever. Um, you know, risk management is the most important thing. Um, yeah, legit. You know what? When I first started trading, like in my first like 6 months of trading, I was full porting, like like literally non-stop, and got wiped out so many times. You learn not to do that. You learn not to do that. And people should definitely not do that. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. Probably boring everyone now, but it was really great to see everyone. Um, Legit, don't full port. Um, but thanks everyone. Really appreciate coming to see my stream. I'm gonna upload it later. Any questions, ping me, and safe trading. Peace out.